Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Rob Baer, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher and Wyatt Turk. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Oh, what's up?
So, Kenny, I like your titles. They're really good.
Thanks, man. I take a lot of pride in my professionalism and fact-checking.
And fact-checking, nice.
Yeah, man, I do my own research, dog, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
that's what we're going with? All right.
Yeah.
Same.
I Google shit, dog.
I Google Kenny Boucher. I Google shit 2022.
That's what being an adult means, is you Google stuff.
Same.
The title of the live stream, which is probably not going to be the title of the podcast you're listening to right now in your car on the way to work or whatever you're doing, is Chaos Knight's Unplayable Trash.
It's a pretty strong hyperbole.
Spicy. I clicked that.
You know, and people asked about it already in chat, and it's like, look, man, straight up. Sometimes I just straight lie, make shit up. Sometimes I just hyperbole. And then I bait you into commenting in a triggered state in our live stream or confirming your bias in our live stream.
Well, I mean, that's what everything's coming down to, right? Is like 10,
did I just describe clickbaiting
60
accurately?
60-second clips.
Yeah.
Did I just describe it accurately? Like I'm trying to put you in a triggered state to either confirm your bias or come in here and tell me I'm an idiot.
Both are acceptable.
In which case, we get that ad revenue. So
either way, I have more people watching, more people chatting, like better exposure. Yeah. I mean, is that what people want? It's like, that's the truth. You know? Rob does it though, and he's literally Hitler. So
no,
it's only a matter of time. You either die the hero.
Yeah. And before we started the show, right when we went live, I got a little distracted because Randy Savage was a Primarch, one of our viewers. He said, "Kenny, any chance of using your influence, quote in quotation marks, to get GW released a Chaos Space Marine Codex early? Same shit you did for the Chaos Knight Codex 2 years ago." I've been every day doing that, trying to get this to work.
Yeah, he's been putting in
hundreds of times, hundreds of actions.
I think it'll be out following the Heresy Wave 1 next month, so not too much longer.
Yeah.
We close.
The World Eaters supplement and the White Dwarf.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Look forward to it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see the actual new World Eaters models and their book until 10th, which probably puts them at least a year out.
Everything's pointing toward that. I told that to somebody the other day.
Would you think of my my little shower thought about squats
being 10th edition?
Yeah. Like, what do you think? There's a real possibility that the first way to get squats is going to be in the new two-player starter box?
I think stars are aligned that's equally as possible as it is not. You know, I mean, that's
they're already showing us models.
Yeah.
We're on a 3 to 6 month release, so it'll probably be Black Friday.
So you think squats are Black Friday?
And it may even be not a army box. It'll be like, I mean, it could be Space Hulk, and they're in Space Hulk with some other thing, right? Like, I don't think it's going to be.
What do you think the 10th edition box will be, based on your? Have you thought about that yet?
Word on the street is Tyranids and Space Marines.
So it's always going to be Space Marines plus something else. So you think that other thing is going to be?
You think they're going to have, because isn't the whole deal about the box is that every model in it is new? So they're going to do a glow up on Tyranids like that?
I mean, there's a lot of Buster Tyranids. Just the base troops are almost old enough to graduate college.
Oh God,
or high school. Yeah, high school. So I mean,
well, unless you're from Florida, I didn't graduate high school until I was like 27.
Then they're not that old yet. But that's the word on the street right now. I mean, everything kind of changes, but it seems like that's from a pretty good source. I think I think everything's going to kind of follow the path that they've laid out that worked with Dark Imperium in 2017 and Indominus in 2020. They come out, whatever opposing force slowly gets all the releases, the fall into the late summer into early fall with the Necrons. And then I get, first with the Death Guard. But I think that other side, it could be World Eaters instead of Tyranids. Think about that. It could follow the same path to market that Death Guard did in 2017.
Oh, that seems as equal. So you said the rumor is, now is that rumor just a speculative rumor?
No, that's the rumor, but
so that rumor is beyond slightly above speculation.
The problem is that a lot of people that see these pictures and they see snippets of things and they talk about it is they don't always know what that stuff is. So what if they saw some sort of new Khorne unit that kind of looks like a Tyranid? Because there's a lot of like demon and possessing stuff. And they're like, oh, dude, there's a sweet Tyranid. And then, that's kind of far-fetched, but we've seen it in the past where like people see one
right
thing. Right
now, forensics is pointing toward NIDS for the box set.
That's the word on the street. Okay. But if they followed the same path to market, I would say the likelihood of it being a World Eater Space Marine release would be higher if we saw the Space Marine 2.0 reboot this fall. If they follow that same path to market that they did in 2019, then I would say it's very high that they're going to repeat the 10th edition starter Death Guard style.
But the Codex came out after Indominus.
Right. And we're obviously getting Angron. Just that's happening. Like, I haven't seen it. I don't know anything about it. It'd be stupid not to.
It's pretty likely as we get a 10th ed with a new starter box, possibly Space Marines versus World Eaters, followed shortly thereafter by Space Marine Codex, World Eater Codex, and more World Eater models.
Yeah. That actually, plausible. That would be like one of the fucking coolest things GW could do for 10th edition.
Yeah. And I could definitely see that working.
Bring it back to Dark Vengeance? Was that Dark Angels versus CSM?
Mm-hmm. 2013.
That was like their greatest box ever.
Yeah. That would be really cool if they did that. I think that'd be so fucking hype. So when's the speculation on 10th edition, Rob?
Next summer.
So
if it falls.
So unfortunately, if that's that hype plan means a year. So.
Yeah. It seems like they're following the same path to market that they did with Sisters. They previewed Sisters with some renders, and then they put the Sisters playtest rules in the 2019 chapter approved. Fall 2019, we got Sisters Army box. So if you kind of take that into consideration, you're probably looking at, we saw renders. We're about to see playtest rules. So, well, not necessarily playtest rules, like more like beta rules. So, I would say it's at least 8 months out. It could do the summer thing, or they could put somebody else in the box of Space Marines. Whoever they put in the box of Space Marines will obviously do well. Like, a lot of people picked up Necrons, right? Because it was time. They needed a reboot bad. So yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. So we're going to be moving, we have a lot of things to discuss tonight. And again, I mentioned we have a clickbait title, Cast Knights and Playable Trash. But what we actually have is a good piece on layout terrain versus player optimized terrain, actually with some, personal experience very recently with Knights as the catalyst for that discussion. We have our normal segments we're going to do tonight, starting with Wyatt's Would You Rather. We're going to roll out to that Cave of Wonders.
Ooh, yeah. In a zombie apocalypse, would you rather have your starting gear be a crowbar and a flashlight, or a hammer and a pack of road flares?
Crowbar and a flashlight, or a hammer and road flares? That's interesting.
Those flares are hot. You almost need a glove.
What? What do you do with road flares?
Illuminate things.
What does he do?
But you're not going to be holding them.
Yeah. I'm not trying.
You don't. You don't hold the flare.
No, you throw it places, dog. Come on, man.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't.
But you also just start fires. You can do all sorts of crazy things with road flare. Okay, my zombie apocalypse survival training, which is 100% exclusive from the Max Brooks Zombie Survival Guidebook that came out like 18 years ago or whatever. It's a subject I'm quite serious about as well. Crowbar is one of the best starter weapons you could have in the apocalypse. Not only can it be used as a blunt instrument of destruction, but it opens doors, which is going to be kind of important as you're running around. Now, we're saying I'm entering the apocalypse with these 2 items and no other useful items outside of like what's in my wallet or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, like you get pocket litter, but
like I'm not like
fire starter,
I'm not prepping my kit and receiving those items.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no way to cheat this. If you're a fucking prepper with a bunch of everyday carry shit in your cargo pockets every single day, like that's magically gone. You don't have that shit. Hammer
is a good weapon too. Is it like a tack hammer? Is it like standard tack hammer? Or
it's your normal standard hammer.
Or is it like the one that's heavier? Like, because there's different ounces. Is it like a good construction
claw hammer.
tack hammer?
Yeah. Like your normal, the most ubiquitous hammer.
I mean, like a professional grade, or like the one like that people buy on like that's cheap.
Yeah, like
why would you get the cheap one?
Normal one you can get at Home Depot.
Well, there's I don't know the ounces on the top of my head, but there's like one that's lighter and one that's a little heavier. They're both tack hammers, though.
I don't know, like a normal one.
My normal one would not be. Yeah, I think
so. I mean, but the thing is, so you're saying hammer, which is obviously definitely easier to break open skulls with than a fucking crowbar. No fucking doubt. So you have a better weapon initially. I have a better light source if I go with the mag light. Or you said I have like a flashlight?
Yeah.
So I have a better light source and a more convenient light source than road flares. How many road flares?
Just like a pack of them. I think it's like a pack of 6.
And do I have a backpack to store both of the, like in both scenarios, or do I have to walk around with fucking road flares?
You get these 2 items.
Luckily, I wear Jinkos.
So you get more. Can you run in Jinkos?
I can't run no matter what I'm wearing, so it doesn't matter. So I'm gonna go with I'm definitely my zombie survival guide training tells me I need the crowbar.
Yeah,
I need the crowbar so I can bust open doors and shit like that, break into houses and acquire new items. And I would prefer to have a convenient light source than 6 road flares that I'm like trying to figure out how to carry around with me. Even though there's a lot of cool things to do with road flares. I mean, I can get a pretty sick zombie kill of the week with a road flare. Is there zombie kills of the week in this scenario?
I don't know. What is it, a reference to something?
Zombieland.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Crowbar flashlight, baby. And very quickly, I will upgrade my weapon choice.
Yeah, as fast as you can. I don't think that's a bad idea at all.
Literally, I'll pop open the first house's door I see and fucking grab something.
Maybe there's zombies in there.
Yeah. But that would be unfortunate. That's right. Rule 1 is cardio. The fatties are the first to die. Charlie Stewart. I gotta need that crowbar so I can pop in somewhere and fucking hide for a minute. 28-ounce framing hammer. That's what I'm talking about, Roger. I might take that if that's something.
Yeah, it's just normal. It's just a normal hammer you have laying around.
Now, where do I get dropped in on the apocalypse? Is my region locked, or is it like, do we both start in Bakersfield right by the Long John Silver's?
I want to be by a Shoney's.
I'm thinking like Day of the Dead, where you're just like you're just in your beat slab,
and then like the random neighbor kid just like
then it goes down. Yeah, it just goes down.
So I'm in Los Angeles. I'm basically dead. So
Yeah, that'd be it's gonna be some people.
Yeah. So I mean, still, I stand by it. Zombie Survival Guide. Dedicated a lot of brain power to reading that book and being heavily involved in zombie speculation. So that's a good one. That's a really fun one. Thank you. I don't have to eat something gross. I don't have to. I'm just gonna
Beehole spiders.
either become a zombie or not. So, and I'm okay with being a zombie.
If he becomes a zombie, he's gonna find us. So.
Oh, I like it's on. It's my new life now, dude. There's no like, oh, I have to put a bullet in my own head and save. No, I'm a zombie now, dog. I'm on this new team. Get good. They recruited me, dog. Made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Oh, we got some cool stuff in chat.
Yeah, I banned them.
Okay.
Aw. They said bonus 300% though.
Yeah, I don't know what any of that means.
All right, let's kick it on over to Rob. Let's do some news. Rob, it's been a huge news week.
Greetings, fellow humans. I have the news. I'm here with the news. Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, there was a decent amount of stuff that went down this week. Depending on what you're into, I suppose. 40K is a little. 40K in general, I guess, is a little slow newsy. As we're ramping up to that big old heresy drop, which will probably go on teaser / for pre-order teaser on Sunday. Still don't know the price, but it's okay. It's less than $300. Nobody freak out. This is fine. New White Dwarf will be going on pre-order. That's a 476. That's going to have the new World Eaters rules in it for Chaos Space Marines, air quotes. So that apparently will start hitting stores on the 3rd of June. Supposedly it was supposed to come out later, but I guess it's not. So we're going to see World Eaters rules relatively soon.
Wait, what? All this talk about World Eaters and they're going to have a White Dwarf rules update?
Yeah, so they're doing a White Dwarf rules update first because they're not in Chaos Space Marine Codex.
So they're confident we're not going to be able to infer anything from Chaos Codex in that set of rules?
Absolutely not. There's going to be tons to infer.
Remember we were talking last time about how like this is what I did not want to happen?
Yeah, you said the opposite. Like, yeah, this is
probably not going to be that tight. I could be wrong. I want to be wrong. But my cynicism, my GW cynicism radar is going off real bad. I don't think this is going to be that tight.
Well,
yeah, but we're talking about the order of operations, Kara Quinn. Like, I mean, first though, so that means it's probably not much then. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be probably just as much that would come in the Chaos Codex. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, maybe they should have done some better expectation management on the Warhammer Fest stream. I don't know. But I wouldn't expect more than what you would have seen in a Chaos Codex, the Chaos Space Marine Codex. And we'll just leave it at that. But maybe we'll get something dope. Maybe it'll be more like the Sisters of Battle rules they put in the Chapter Proof 2019 before they came out. So I don't know. I really don't know what to expect, but I'm sure we're going to see them very shortly. So look for those wherever. As soon as I get my little paws on them, I'll get them up on the internet too. Joining all the fun. Speaking of Chaos Knights, and if they are or are not good, the single releases for the Knight Abominant and the Chaos Knights War Dogs are coming out this week. So the Abominant is 170. Remember, that's going to have all the sprues for all of the Chaos versions minus the ones that are loyalists. Like, so you're not going to get the Melta and stuff. And the Chaos Knights War Dogs box is going to be 85. They both mirror, their Imperial Knights cousins, I guess you could call it. The Chaos Knights Codex will be $55, data cards $29, and Kill Team Moroch, I don't know, $210 for that new Kill Team box. It's going to come with the upgrade sprue for the Phobos Marines, as well as the Renegade Trader Guard and the Commissar / Ogren, and some of the terrain they had already released. So, and there's some dice and stuff that are coming out for them too for $38. But I think the big news is going to be that Horus Heresy is most likely going to go on pre-order Sunday for a June 18th store shelf delivery. June 18th. Yeah. Wow. How did I remember that? I don't even know. Crazy. But so that's going to be the big story. And from the looks of it, you can check out the articles or do some Google searching. The sprues have been revealed by some GW influencers, and it looks like there will be a relic pattern Contemptor Dreadnought that will be released in plastic, as well as multiple versions of the Land Raider itself. So pretty dope. Oh, yeah, I guess Haspel's book will be out that same day as well, with all the other Horus Heresy accessories and boxes and accoutrement. The big anthology book will be out that day as well. So definitely be looking for that and pick it up. I think it's coming out in a hardcover first, but we haven't seen the official, lineup or anything like that. But I'm pretty sure they're going to put all that stuff out at the same time. So watch the space for sure. Definitely more to come on that. I was browsing eBay the other day, and I found a store. And the guy just has the store name is his name. It's David Brumby, Brumby. But he's got a ton of dope looking resin kits. He's all over the place, but a lot of work stuff, but a lot of other stuff too. Definitely worth a check. He ships out of UK, so if you live in the States, it might take a little bit longer to get. But if you're overseas listening to us, then you'll probably get it a lot quicker. So lots of cool 40K alternatives, so to speak, in there to be had. Definitely very cool looking. We also saw, it wasn't all slow news week. The 40K Magic card pricing was revealed by Wizards of the Coast. They put it up on Amazon for direct to consumer pre-orders. The release date is August 12th. And the starting price for all 4 of the collector's set commander decks, all 4 of them. And remember, these are going to be in that, they call it surge foil style. So every card in each of the decks is going to be foil. If you ever see Magic cards, you're probably familiar with the foil ones. The surge ones are even more doper than the basic bitch ones, so to speak. So the cost for those 4 decks will be $548 US. Pre-order now on Amazon. Or if you want the base versions of those commander decks, same ones, $221.25. You can get your Warhammer 40K Magic cards.
I'm not hype on that at all. Are you?
That is an interesting price point. And they are the last Magic set, that just came out, new Capucina, 5 decks for $178.
Oh my God.
So there's definitely a bit of licensing tax in here somewhere. It's a bold price. We'll see if it pans out for them. I had to do a double take. I was like up on Amazon. I was like, wow, all right, why? And then I started looking around. I was like, they're just more than the normal Magic stuff, but all right, cool. We'll see how they do. If you haven't heard the news yet, Games Workshop also sent a cease and desist letter to the China recaster known as CDR, and it looks like their site is now down forever, I would assume. So in advance of the Horus Heresy drop, it looks like they were targeting folks. I've heard whisperings and murmurings of them getting a little bit more aggressive on eBay, even so much as to tell some manufacturers themselves, that their own products are counterfeits. Bold. Very bold. These are real facts. They have happened. So interesting times right now, leading up to the Horus Heresy. Also, I know more riveting news. Adeptus Titanicus finally got the FAQ we've been waiting for since 2021, and one before that in 2020. So if you play Titanicus, go check out the FAQ. There's nothing big in it. They changed a lot of damage stuff from D6 to D3+1. They got the Custodes treatment, which was pretty cool. And I think the one ability for Legio Tempestus, where you can drop pod in, it changed a little bit. You might actually lose your whole knight, which is a little, or your whole Titan, which could be a little dangerous, I suppose. And if you want to have some fun, why not? Last but not least, all the news I have is the ACO, the Atlantic City Open, is happening very, very soon. There will be a Long War doubles there, but unfortunately, none of the three of us will be there to run it. However, it is still happening, and you can still get tickets. There are some really sweet play mats. Have you seen those, Kenny? Can you put them up on the screen? Do you need a...
I don't have any. I don't know. I don't have those.
Do you need a picture? I mean, I know you've gotten a picture, but let me give you the picture so people can see them. So these are going to be a
what?
Premium format for both players. If you go in, and hopefully we'll have more. We'll have those at the Vegas Open too. There, it's in chat right there. The standard 24-inch by 14 to put in your display board.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. For everyone who's watching live, I'll throw it up on the screen. But so Atlantic Open, Long War doubles. We're not going to be the ones running it though, but we are definitely. I've been talking to some people, and I think it's about time with the popularity level of the Long War doubles events to start getting essentially, all intents and purposes, certified like TOs. People that, we can send to these places because we can't always go to these places. Like, there's only three of us. It's real hard, but our format is still tight.
One of us doesn't fly.
And now apparently you can get this dope playmat. And so it's on the screen for everyone. It's pretty fucking awesome. Love it. And, I was actually just talking to Pending Duff the other day about he had interest in becoming essentially a certified tournament organizer and he's helped us with so many Long War doubles. So there may be actually more of them coming in the future if we can not have to physically always be the ones who run them.
I don't mind. Obviously, there's some ones that are big and worth going to. And if I could teleport to Vegas, I'd love to be at Vegas. I think it's a great event, but Frontline Gaming has a lot of events. It's hard to get to all of them. We're already all doing our own. All three of us are doing our own things. So I don't feel like that's unreasonable, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I think it's time. Got a lot of things on the horizon. So is that? So that's the final piece right there. So you can sign up for Atlantic City Open. You can get
until the 30th.
To the 30th, and get this new playmat.
Now I don't know if it's public knowledge, but the LVO tickets will be going on sale in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So
I see. Oh, okay. This is why we're supposed to have a meeting with Kicker. Okay.
But I imagine if I had to guess, there would be a Long War.
There's certainly going to be a Long War doubles in Vegas. Like, there's certainly.
That was my thoughts on the matter, but I don't want to speak for you two because I will have difficulty.
I was wondering why this meeting is getting kind of like we got a billion seconds till LVO. Why are we talking about it like right now? Oh, okay, because tickets are going on sale like right now. Okay,
yeah.
Put me in the books. Let's get something going. We got to have a talk.
So, just reach out to him. I mean, I'm going to talk to him tomorrow and let him know where I go for the Long War doubles, but just so they can get it, on the books and get tickets ready.
Mm-hmm. I see we are on an accelerated timeline, and I guess these massive events take months and months to plan, so I understand that.
Shocker, right?
Turns out.
Yeah.
So, updates on Patreon. I think we said we have a soft date for doing our annual t-shirts. Just for
late summer, I think.
Late summer
when we launched it. So we'll have to put it up to the veterans first, the lifetime folks, and let them get it, and then open it up to the public, I would think.
So late summer, we haven't forgotten. We're gonna have this thing going, and just this standard update to our patrons. And thank you for supporting us over on
thank you.
Patreon URL longword.net.
We roll.
Yeah. So chat has been flowing this evening. Like I said, if you're listening to this audio version of this podcast, coming to you live from multiple platforms, in which the clickbait title of the evening is Chaos Knights Unplayable Trash. A lot of people come to the show. They're like, "Why? Tell me why." What do you think, Rob?
I think that I listen to it and do the live stream as well. So I'm glad for that. Thank you for that clarification. Sometimes I forget.
You're most welcome, sir. I do appreciate it. Now, obviously, again, I am the most prolific clickbaiter on the internet, at least in our community. Like, you guys don't even know about some of the stuff I've done. Like, it's insane. Nobody's done more than me. Like that one time I put out that post with 57,000 dicks.
That was pretty epic. Never to be repeated.
Yep.
There was a Chaos Knight player. We know him. He got third at a GT over the weekend.
No, he didn't. Unplayable trash, dog. Again, joking.
Shall I continue?
Now, look. Look. It's a straight up lie. I lied to you guys. I'm not sorry at all. I got you here. That's how it works. Harmless.
That's how it works.
So
tell me how it works, Kenny. Tell me how it works.
Okay, and for anyone listening, so the way it works is that I lie to you about something that is triggering, and then you come to the stream to tell me, and then
or
here
confirm my bias.
To either confirm your bias or to tell me that I'm an idiot.
What about can we say you have a stupid face?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool.
I'm fine with all these things as long as you're here and you're willing to listen, hear us out. Because if I phrase things super reasonably and long-winded,
nobody clicks on it.
Nobody fucking clicks on it.
Are you kidding me? That's not real.
Nobody cares.
People want to be positive, bro. Right?
They don't. They want to be dicks.
What?
People are constantly fighting their urge to be cruel to each other. That's what I've decided.
I think you are correct.
So what inspired me, because something always inspires me to make a post like that or make a title like that, is actually our co-host here, Wyatt. If you guys have been following on Instagram, he did a really amazing and fast turnaround a list. We've been talking about it for several weeks, right? Obviously, all this night stuff has been popping. A lot of people have started back into Chaos Knights or are collecting them for the very first time. It's very popular. And Knights are very important to the meta. They have historically always been. Mm-hmm. So Wyatt, raw dog, no playtesting, went down to the Dallas Open and played.
It was Alamo GT.
Alamo GT. I said Dallas Open. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Alamo GT. Apologies out there to the Alamo people.
Get your week straight, bro.
Get my week straight. Apologies. He went out, played 6 games with the new Knights. All playtesting from the environment of a GT, which is School of Hard Knocks. And we have some, experiences and data to bring back from it. And obviously, why he didn't get his ass kicked, he went 3-3 with no playtesting. But we do have some insight that brings us into a topic about layout terrain. And I'll turn it over to Wyatt to tell us why Knights inspire this topic.
Yeah, so Knights are shaping up to be a really good mid-table bully force. I think that's kind of what they were before. That's even with this new codex, that's what they're going to end up being. There are some ways to optimize. There's some ways to skew, do different things with them. A lot of people, what we're going to start seeing is adding a single knight into their existing armies with the Asian Imperium or Asian Chaos rules. So this event was somewhat unique in that it was so close to the release of the 2 codexes that not a lot of people had time to tool for knights, to tool for getting ready for them, right?
Killing armor?
Well, not necessarily killing armor, but killing a toughness 8, 28
and also
wound
there is
model.
accuracy to your statement, Rob.
Okay.
Right now, as almost always is the case, as additions become mature, more stuff on the ground in an infantry capacity becomes more good, and we're currently in that we're currently in that phase right now. So a lot of stuff is geared to kill a lot of stuff that is not 20 big ass models with a bunch of defensive stuff. So, and I'll come back to that topic, but yeah, good insight. And so sorry for the interruption there, Wyatt.
Very good. So yes, did not see a whole lot of stuff that was tooled to take on knights. There's some things in the meta right now that can just do it anyways, like with what they're already bringing, right? So the big takeaway, the biggest one from this event is that knights of both types are going to struggle really, really bad on GW layout tables or set layouts, as opposed to player place terrain or player optimized terrain, right? Where we can move the board around. It doesn't necessarily have to be the like I place and then you place. It's just you show up to the table, you make a table. Whatever,
some
right?
version of player placed or optimized terrain.
Right. So on set layouts, not necessarily where the pieces are placed, but the size and shape of the utilized terrain pieces. The biggest one being there are 3 massive shooting lanes across the board, and you have 4 12 by 12 inch obscuring ruins. And what that means a lot of the time is that as a knight, you are not obscured and somebody else is obscured, but they can still see you. They can just shoot through. So you can have a situation where somebody with even a suboptimal list can just sit behind an obscuring piece of terrain and shoot you with impunity, and there's nothing you can do about it other than walk your happy ass around for 3 turns and hope you're still alive when you get there.
And for anyone who doesn't experience that as a knight player or going up against knights, it's a simple matter of manipulating the wording of obscuring terrain, right? Which is an infinite height cylinder that blocks line of sight if it's over 5 inches tall, or just decided by the TO that these are obscuring pieces of terrain. Okay. And if it has any line of sight properties, like many of them do, windows, doors, etc., the knight doesn't benefit from that. So true line of sight is in play, but the knight is still restricted by it. So you literally just stand behind a tiny little, but yet 5 inch tall thing that has windows, and you can just shoot to your heart's content through those windows at the knight, and he can't do anything about it for turn after turn after turn. That is pretty obnoxious if you've experienced it.
Right. Also, the way in practice that armies play the game in terms of scoring primary and scoring secondaries, knights are at a big disadvantage on set layouts. For example, like Blood Angels, they're pretty tight codex. They're not top of the meta or anything. They don't have a whole lot of crazy gotcha tricks or nothing. They're just Blood Angels, right? You can pick secondaries against a knight player on a set layout table where you can just passively score. And the only thing I can ever do is not shoot you if you're behind obscuring, or if you're in obscuring, I can shoot you, but with the units that people take, like what's the most popular Space Marine
unit? Guard, 2-up save with armor contempt and cover is a 0 save.
Yeah, exactly. And so most of the weapons you have at your disposal as a Chaos Knight player is AP1 or AP2. Now,
even AP3 shots are less in volume, so you're just putting them back to 3-up saves with less volume.
Yeah, most of those units have invul saves. So even our Melta Lances, you can just save on them, right? And you're put in this position where on these set layouts, you can only move through certain avenues. Like I have no choice of movement, right? I can pick which models go, but
your entire movement phase has been telegraphed by the layout.
Exactly. And I'm in a position where like, okay, I know that if I get first turn and I move to start getting on primary objectives, because that's how we win the game, I'm immediately going to get like charged by his whole Blood Angels army, right? And with all the tools that Blood Angels have, and me as a knight player not being able to have an invul save in close combat, that's real bad. It's bad news bears. And so you might try to bait them out, right? That seems the logical thing to do. It's
but
like,
you can't if they're not incentivized for coming out.
Yep.
Exactly. Because they can passively score against you while you're at such a huge disadvantage. They don't even have to. The only option you have is to just like go out and try to make a fight of it, but you're at a disadvantage, right? It's just real feels bad city. It doesn't feel good. And that's kind of what I was going to move into is one of the problems that Chaos Knights has is just a lack of tools. They simply do not have access to a lot of tools that other, even real basic armies have in this current edition, and it puts them at a big disadvantage, right? Like we can't alter the initiative step, right? Like that's a big one. I can go in and I can charge this unit of intercessors, and I'm like, yeah, my war dog will just wipe them dudes up. Unfortunately, there's a librarian with the armor of rust right there, so he's gonna be like, you fight last. You know, heroic intervene 6 inches and all this other stuff.
Judicar or whatever. Like there's like 1,000 things that Space Marines have access to.
Right. Or just units that have fight first innately, right? Because we don't have an invul save in the fight phase, units that are not super scary normally are all of a sudden really scary. Yeah, exactly. So the only thing you can do is like, well, I have to be the charger. But even then, that's not quite enough because we have a low volume of attacks. You know, you can sweep, but even then it's like, if I choose to sweep, it's going to be in like 2 up saves with Armor of Contempt or a Storm Shield, right? So I don't want to sweep. I want to smash. I'm going to try to kill as many of these Space Marines as possible. They have 4 up invul saves, so they can still save them. They can just tank your entire attacks, right? So it's just, there's not a whole lot you can do in those situations.
And thing is, you
what
make
people are bringing right now.
I think you make such a solid point, especially since because you did play Blood Angels, you know, and we talked about Blood Angels because I'm making Blood Angels. I've made changes to my list preparing for this epic return of the Knights because it is so healthy, in my opinion, for the meta to have a strong Knight presence. It does a lot for the game to rebalance it. Back to Rob's, observation is that you suddenly have to be aware of the gatekeeping element of Knight's existence. Traditionally and historically when we have a strong Knight presence. And that rebalances the game in many ways. People have to think about, not for a long time, it was like, but can I kill a Knight? Like, I love this list. Oh, but can I map that out? Can I kill a Knight? You have to think those ways because maybe Knight's not winning the tournament, but they're keeping you from winning the tournament if you can't interact with them, if you can't fight them. And then, but there's always been ways to fight them. You know what I mean? They've never been this oppressive, like, force that is unbeatable. But there's always a way that you can spec and tool for it. And outplay him, and you have to think about it. And I've been doing that so happily, so merrily for like the last few weeks. And I'm like just saddened to hear that even with like Wyatt's knowledge of that subject, that like something as horrible as, terrain. Cause I have to use, cause I'm always imagining it's player optimized terrain. And I am like, man, it'd be really sick if I win the world to put the first piece down. It'd be really sick if I can get at least one thing here. And then I feel like I have a good chance at winning it. I hope I can go second. I hope I can go second. Like I have all these like little like things I want to hit to really optimize my chances against like Wyatt. But then it's like, you can take like a whole bunch of those out if the table's just set up a certain way and there's just infinite ways for me to jump around and not be seen.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, ooh, I don't like that. Like, that doesn't make me feel good. Like even playing against I'm like, it's almost like a free win. You know what I mean?
No, it's not to say there's nothing we can do because there's some really cool things you can do. Like you can kit out a rampager to just be a just berserker rage, like nasty thing, right? It's like 20 attacks.
Also, we'd be missing our duty if we didn't mention that there is a stratagem for a different house, right? Yeah. What's the name of that house? Is that Herpetrex?
Corvax.
And it was in a White Dwarf, right? That's where the stratagem exists?
No, it's in the Codex.
It's in the Codex. Mm-hmm. So there's a stratagem that any phase, what is that, like one Titanic unit or one model or
I can pull it up.
Yeah, let's pull it up. Let's read it. This is where we're missing our dues if we don't mention this is an option.
Yeah, it's at the start of your movement phase or at the start of your charge phase. Select up to 2 House Corvax War Dog models or 1 House Corvax Titanic model from your army until the end of the phase. Selected models can move horizontally through models and terrain features as if they were not there.
So obviously, that right out the gate seems like a great solution to many of the things.
But then you're pigeonholed into taking that specific house,
which is not necessarily that much of a loss in power. But the issue with this is like we're on the right track, but it shouldn't be locked behind one style of play within the book, right?
Yeah, now that's kind of what I'm seeing is that
because now suddenly we all going to play the same
melee. Yeah, exactly. And that's also kind of like feels bad because you're like, well, I like these models, or like I would like to do something like this, and it just doesn't work. Like that doesn't feel good. That's not a good balance for the codex. And yeah, like kind of the point I was trying to make is you can do some wild, crazy, offensively powerful things. You could do this rampager. He goes in there and you're like, oh man, I'm going to go in there. And it's like, sorry, dude, I'm going to point and click, make you fight last. And okay, I bracketed you down to 3 wounds. Now you can do all your attacks. And there's very limited things of rerolls and that sort of nature. So it's just like, there's weird extra conditional things on our tool set that don't make a lot of sense. Like, for example, the stratagem to make you act on full brackets. So you're like, that alpha strike, that hurt. I'm down to like 5 wounds. My guy is like moving really slow and he hits on 5s. I'm going to do the stratagem. Oh, wait, you can't unless he has a Nurgle favor. And there's not a whole lot of good stuff to put on him to make him Nurgle, right? So you're like stuck into this avenue that's not that tight, you know? I could do Trail of Destruction to get rerolls, but it only works if they're on an objective. Otherwise, you can't use it. And it's only reroll hit rolls of 1. You know, so it's like all these weird
it used to be full
things.
rerolls.
Yeah. So, and there's no way to get rerolls in the fight phase unless you're like a specific house or you have a rampager, and then the rerolls only work on war dogs. So it's this weird kind of too many stipulations to have access to basic tools that everybody else has. And a lot of those stratagems cost more than I think they should, considering that you don't have very many models. You don't have very much CP to start. And that's all you have, right? Like rotate ion shields for 2 CP, it's kind of expensive when that's like one of 2 defensive strats that you only have in the whole codex. The other one being -1 damage in the fight phase. That's all we got.
I mean, that's true. And so like, it's just to put it out there is like, fighting first is one thing, but defensively saying can't fight until all eligible units have fought is another thing. And so that always wins. Like if you can put that, if you can flick somebody with that and then they charge you, you're fighting first. Like, so there's a lot of people have access to something like that. And so just putting that out there to the chat too is like, you can't just go in there thinking like you're a raw dog, good to go. If you have a fight first mechanic that, and then charge in there and you're like, you think you're invincible. You're not. But simultaneously, while there is a dope stratagem that fixes a lot of this, the problem is it's locked behind a certain house, which doesn't mean you can't play. It's not good. It just means that, again, we're in this trap where layout terrain starts funneling us all into a certain way of playing. And one of the coolest things that ever happened to 40K was us moving fully into asymmetrical mission design and player optimized terrain. Because now, and to borrow a phrase from Wyatt, player optimized terrain just means you're making your dream deployment zone. Right?
Well, I mean, but yeah, and it's accessible to both sides.
But you're making your dream deployment zone. So if we both are making our dream deployment zones, and sometimes it's maybe it's not making my dream deployment zone, but maybe my dream midfield. Sometimes that's how I think about it. Sometimes I'm like, I need fire lanes. So sometimes I get clever. I get the first drop and I put something that's not obscuring really close to the center so that he has to put his big boxy ruin 6 inches away from that. Right? So that he doesn't get to block out the center and I have fire lanes, right? So there's like a whole chess game to that where I'm making my dream midfield.
And you're trying to avoid placing certain pieces of terrain in where you need to move. So a good example of one of the issues with set layouts is something like obstacles. So let's just say the mission, there's a center objective. I need to get to the middle of the board with one of my OBSEC knights to hold that, start scoring primary, right? Well, I only have 1 lane to get there and only 1 knight can fit at a time because they're not wide enough to have 2 war dogs fit. You can barely even have the knight, square shouldered. You have to put him at an angle a little bit to get down that lane. If there's an obstacle there with the way that those rules work, you can walk over it, but it's 2 up, 2 over, 2 down. So you're -4 to your 10-inch movement, which means that like, as soon as you go up there to touch it, it's -4 to your movement. So you may not even be able to clear that obstacle with the base of your knight. So you
might be stuck on it again.
So you just can't get to that section of the board, right?
Brutal.
And then some people are kind of wild styling on the GW layouts where maybe there's a piece of terrain in the middle of the board. And you're like, okay, well, I can like move up behind that and touch the objective. Like that's okay. But on some mission types, there might be like an obstacle on either side of those. And so you're like, I'm basically stuck on my half of the board in this situation because I'm going to have to make a move to set up for a move the next turn rather than being able to just move over there and do what I need to do.
Yeah.
And the entire game, when you're playing knights against stuff, is a ticking time clock, right? We play on clocks, but it's like, how long can I survive to do the things that I need to do? Because again, their whole army can see you at all times. And so every turn that you're wasting, not being able to do the things you want to do, bleeding wounds off, makes it all the harder to do those goals. And a lot of times it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. So, and again, Wyatt went 3-3 with no play testing, did just fine, very respectable finish. These are observations of the future. And there's been a growing trend, which is shocking, but I understand with people who are in charge of global event coordination and stuff like that. There's been a growing trend toward layout terrain again and GW layout terrain. And we've been playing here comfortably in California in the heartland of the ITC with player optimized terrain just perfectly well, perfectly fucking fast, perfectly efficient, so much better. And so I'm like, I really hope that people listen to this podcast episode who maybe are TOs or friends of TOs. It's like, try to not adopt that. Trust me, you're going to have a better experience as a TO. It's less work. It's more fun for the players. And most importantly, optimized terrain leads to a more diverse field of playstyles where we all can place, like, you're always going to see like a hardcore top 8 of like whatever's the hot shit. But that's not us. We're talking about everyone else. You're going to see tons of factions represented, and you're going to read their army lists, and there's going to be some wild differences between them, where people are just feeling authorized to play their style because they know that at least they're not going to get alpha struck off the table, because that's the biggest fear in the game, right, is getting alpha struck off the table. Well, player optimized terrain helps with that. It helps you create a dream deployment or dream midfield to open up fire lines. For Wyatt, it's mostly about him creating openings to move. So he doesn't just have one telegraphed lane, right? So that's a big first thing, is like, let's really do our duty as a community to put it out there that player optimized terrain is the future of diverse gameplay and diverse playstyles and a way more inclusive playstyle. It doesn't stagnate the meta. Now, simultaneously, knights are one of the most important armies since their inception to our fucking playstyle. And if you have a bunch of knights running around, playing only one way, playing the stratagem to run through walls, doing all the same thing to limited or great success.
Well, it's not gonna off-put any other faction or any other meta. It's just like they're stuck into this. They're no longer boogeymen.
Yeah, right. Because
exactly, they're not gatekeeping anything now.
Right.
Yeah, it's just our kind of objective game design goal of minimizing the amount of just straight feels bads. Right? Like, you can lose a game and that feels bad, but you have control over that, right? Because you're playing this game. When it's like, I can't leave my half of the board because this terrain layout is just straight doo-doo dog water, that's a feels bad that shouldn't be there, right? So, I mean, like, that's the biggest thing, and
and chat, Roger in chat says, he's like, honestly, this all existed before the new book. It did, but we need a new strong set of night codexes came out.
And that's the best point I can make to that is, yes, you are correct. The issue being that we did not get a commiserate defensive increase to go along with the major offensive increase that the game has. The game has become insanely more deadly across multiple factions since the last Night Codex has come out. And now with this new codex, we don't have the defensive capabilities that we used to. Sure, we got some new stuff that's really cool. Like, we have the one knight you can put Blessing of the Dark Master on. So he's crazy tanky, even with the Infernal table and choosing the transhuman on the Infernal table and all that stuff. That knight can be exceptionally tanky. But then you have his bro right next to him. It's a really, really juicy target. Because if I'm playing against Chaos Knights and I'm like, that guy's a real headache, but I can play Ring Around the Rosie with that fool the entire game. So I'm just going to murk this other knight for the free points because it's easy mode, right? So that is another one of those things that like doesn't feel that good. So I think moving forward, the way to go, at least with Chaos Knights, is you take one big knight, you make him uber tank, and then you just take all war dogs. like 10, 11 war dogs, whatever the points is on that. And I think the power of the Chaos Knight Codex is going to be in the fight phase. I mean, that's where we have the most AP outside of Melta cannons and stuff like that. So I think your choices on war dogs need to stay with huntsmen and stalkers and carnivores. Just don't even look at the brigands. The brigands are trash. Chain cannons suck. Like, Marines, just ignore them. Like, they're the worst. Executioners are okay. I like 2 is fine for certain matchups, having those like kind of chill in the back with their crazy long range. And then just one knight, one big knight. The Abominant, super cool hype new unit guy. We're like, oh, he's got this big Volkite combustor. He's got the tentacles. Not that tight. Like, after going through 6 games with a very, diverse set of opponents, he is not that tight. At least offensively, right? Sometimes he can pop off, right? That's the thing with Volkite, is it's the swingiest weapon that we have right now in the current meta. Unfortunately, he only has 6 shots with it. Again, our rerolls are super limited, and it doesn't pop off very often. His melee profile seems cool, and then you're like, oh, okay, I got 9 attacks, tentacles, dope. It's 3 damage, dope. It's only AP2. So again, against most Marine forces, which is the most ubiquitous faction in the community, it's going to be AP0 most of the time with the units that people are taking. And they're just like, we're just going to tank all that shit. You did 0 damage. We're going to kill 1 Marine. And then they're like,
Chad's doing a good job of bringing up things that are really good and helpful to the things that Wyatt's saying right now. But the problem is, remember, only one guy gets the move through terrain strategy. So you see the problem here. A short-term goal, very simple. I always look for the easiest goal that has the least amount of words. Is give that house a new stratagem and make that stratagem a global stratagem for knights, right? Literally, like along the same lines as Ion Shield, global, like all knights all the time. Regardless of house, regardless of bond or whatever the fuck the Imperial guys have, they need access to a movement stratagem. That kind of just solves a lot of these problems right now. Like, if they can just walk through walls without having to change the entire way they play, because now they can get access to all these things like manipulating the AP, -1 damage ores, fixing a lot of the things that Wyatt just said. You can like customize for that and still walk through walls. You see what I'm saying? That's a really short-term, simple fucking solution. So fucking easy. Now, the real problem, honestly, is how obscuring terrain works in relation to titanic creatures. So even before layout terrain, so I'm going down the list without even saying, don't do layout terrain. That can do that. That's the last thing. If you just fix an interaction with obscuring terrain. Right now, you can have, it's all keywords, right? You can have another keyword for Titanic, that literally says, Titanic models, right, don't benefit from obscuring terrain. However, you can't interact with them in the same capacity that everyone else can't be interacting with. So if you can't just shoot through the windows of obscuring terrain to the knight, right? But you can go into, it's not an infinite cylinder. So if you can see over it, you can see the fucking knight. But the knight, because you're infantry and you have the advantage, can't do the same to you. So what that means, and it's really weird, description, what that really means functionally is you can't camp inside of a little L on an objective shooting through the windows at the knight. Because what I'm saying is you have to see over the terrain. So you have to be further back and you have to change your locations and the way you want to play. Okay, so that means now the knight has the opportunity to flank around you. He can see you from the angles much easier. You're not just encapsulated in this little U, then you're invisible unless he walks all the way behind you. Like, there's a way to change how obscuring terrain works in relation to Titanic keyword to make it better. But then at the end of this rainbow, there's another simple fix, which is let's not fucking play layout games. Let's play player optimized terrain. And I understand why the global event coordinator thinks layout's better. It's because he thinks it's the most fair thing in the world if everyone plays exactly the same map.
Yeah, there is a point to be made there, right? And I don't necessarily disagree, but you have to look at the pieces that you use in that. You have to look at if there is a imbalance in what is benefiting from those layouts, which right now is highly mobile, very killy infantry-based units, right? Right now, if you're playing Space Marines of any type, if it doesn't have a jump pack and it doesn't fuck in the fight phase, it's probably not that good. Like, you don't want to bring it, right? You can look at all of the Space Marine lists that have been doing well. They all have the same stuff. I think actually I would be cool with something like, if a Titanic model is behind obscuring, it's just -1 to hit. I think thematically and logically, that makes a whole lot of sense to people. It's
what
not
an
a confusing
What an
rule.
easy one.
Yeah, just I'll take it, because I mean, it's not perfect, but it's an easy Band-Aid that can help out a lot of players avoid those issues.
I like that. That's simple. Now, but to criticize while giving credit to what I speculate is the reason for layouts, right? Because it's first off, as a TO, changing the layout for deployments and resetting layouts between rounds is 10 times more work than player optimized terrain. So right out the gate, that's insane, right? So that's a criticism. While I understand why you want to do it, but my second major point is it's dumb. We are playing asymmetrical mission design, and the global event coordinator is actually one of the first people to introduce asymmetrical mission designs into Warhammer 40K. Asymmetrical mission design is us all playing different games. I'm playing a different game than Wyatt, right? I have a different set of goals than he has. I've already customized my experience and innately made it imbalanced between the two of us while trying to maximize my advantage. So right at the gate, asymmetrical mission design is the same as player optimized terrain. It's the same to the game. That means you are advocating for your advantages on your side of the table with the exact same amount of terrain features as I am, and I'm advocating, and an inversion is occurring with your opponent. We're both advocating what their advantages and disadvantages, just like asymmetrical mission. It doesn't make sense. It's a false argument. It's utterly insane to me. And not to mention, we're not playing the same armies either. So kind of like, unless it's a mirror match tournament, it already all broke down the second we brought different fucking armies. So let us bring our own shit, advocate for our own advantages, play asymmetrical mission design, and essentially asymmetrical fucking terrain layout. You know what I'm saying? Like, doesn't make sense. So let's not regress. Let's not go back in time to layouts. ITC did a great thing by implementing player optimized terrain. What I would like to see, though, now to criticize that organization, is a couple less when I say subtraction, I want to subtract how many square inches of the board is obscuring. I was about to say, like, these guys are not open for criticism of any type, be it positive or whatever. So if you want to do layouts, cool, do layouts. But I would posit that the massive square foot buildings need to go. Like, keep the amount of terrain, because the amount of terrain, it's like 10, 12 pieces of table terrain. Keep that. Just replace those big honking pieces of terrain with like a medium-sized piece of terrain that takes up half of the square inches. Like, you can still have a long side that's 8 to 10 inches long to be like kind of an obscuring stuff to hide stuff behind. But having so many square foot or square inches of the table taken up by those big pieces of terrain is basically what turns this into a League of Legends map, where there's a top lane, middle lane, and bot lane, and you can only go one of three ways unless you're infantry. It just doesn't feel good. Yeah, I mean, think about a very common measurement on a ruin is about 8 by 8. That's 64 square inches of a fucking you can't see through, and oftentimes there's like 4 of those on the table, right? Think about that for a second, guys. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking 256 square inches of you can't see, like, on the table. And actually, in the case of a fucking obscuring terrain, that's cubic inches, son. You know what I mean? That's like more. That's infinite. So we need to also adapt the size of these units, not just how much of them are on the table, to the fact that our table has gotten smaller. That's something that people haven't really talked about, right? Our table is smaller. So it's not necessarily, the answer is not necessarily less terrain features. It's possibly the terrain features need to be scaled down to that new square inches. And so right now I've played a lot of games and player optimized terrain, and I play a lot of armies that highly exploit fucking obscuring terrain. Like a lot of exploitation. And I think it's too much. I think we have too many square inches in way too big set pieces. Because in every game I've played in the last like 15 games, I have been able to literally hide everything in my fucking army comfortably. But I want with no hard decision making. You know what I'm saying? So when I played on Dice Check on Monday, actually, so I did a live stream with the Dice Check crew on Monday on YouTube Live, and we do layout terrain, but like we set it up for our game, very player optimized. I deliberately selected ruins and stuff that were like not that massive. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I found myself, struggling to just easily hide everything. I had to make weird decisions. Like I had to put stuff in like kind of the backfield behind this piece, and I couldn't just jam everything right here. I had to like spread my force out in a different way. And he was able to move very quickly to see things that I was hoping he wouldn't be able to see because I didn't use 64 inches of fucking square inches of ruins. You know what I'm saying? And it led to a way more exciting game that I was still able to win. But I had to make really serious decisions about how I was going to do that and use a lot more brain power. So even if you adopted that methodology going to layout terrain, it wouldn't be so bad. But like, we've offered a ton of solutions to a problem that we are seeing. What does that mean for you guys as a community? It means if you agree with us on this subject, tell people that you'd like to see player optimized terrain be the standard. Tell your TOs, tell your local scene. If you want, if you don't agree with us and you love layout terrain, advocate for that. But I think we presented our case very professionally here.
Yeah, 100%.
And also congratulations to Wyatt for still pulling down a 3-3.
Huge.
Didn't even play test that shit.
It's raw dogging it.
Yeah. Tournament raw dog by Wyatt Turk.
That's what the title should be.
Tournament raw
Wyatt dog. Raw dogs the world.
Let's not do that.
No.
I'm pretty sure that'll get popped by the algorithm.
Big Wyatt energy.
No.
Okay, fine.
But I do also I've talked to several other people who also played Knights this last weekend at tournaments and GTs. And they almost all said what you said. Like, I'm going to one night and a bunch of armigers, maybe just all armigers. All war dogs. So
there was indeed a lot of that.
So there's also some insight right there for any of our Knight players who haven't gotten to the tabletop yet and they're still collecting and trying to figure out what their list wants to be. A lot of people whose opinions I respect as Knight players have all said something similar. So take that into consideration. Let it influence your purchasing decision.
I think there's a lot of playability still, just not to be too down in the dumps. I just think that the paradigm of playing Knights on player optimized terrain is very different than the set layouts. And I do think there is a way to play Chaos Knights and regular Knights on set layout tables. It just may not be the way that you want to play, or it may not suit the collection that you have. And that's kind of a feel bad situation because you might have to buy a bunch of new stuff that you may not want to have to buy.
They're not the cheapest models either.
Yeah, exactly. So like me saying like in the future, I'm going to go to one night, like 10 war dogs. I mean, like I'd have to get 3 more war dogs because I only have 7 right now. And the one I'd have to replace 2 that I already have to make those brigands into carnivores because brigands are not that tight. So it's like, it just doesn't feel good.
Well said. Well presented. Well, I think we did it here. Wyatt, you want to take us out of here?
Rob.
So that's it for this one. For exclusive content and early access videos, head to thelongwar.net and become a veteran of the Long War today.